Thank you very much.
And the proximity of those fires, all too apparent here in Gosford tonight. Rather smoky, very, very hot day in New South Wales. Temperatures of well over 40 degrees during the day. Thankfully, it has cooled somewhat and should be okay for the players tonight. Well, let's take a look at the players who will represent the two teams. A couple of changes for the Mariners. Dylan Fox returns in defence for Kai Rolls, who scored in the win over Adelaide last week, but who's picked up a groin injury, so he hasn't been risked. It's Fox's first start in over a month. Samuel Silvera is preferred to Jordan Murray. He scored the winner against Glory in the West back in round 4. And Tommy Orr remains in the left-back role in preference to Jack Clisby. He also captains the team. Glory, by contrast, are unchanged, with Dino Djulbic and Osama Malik still on the injury list. Tomislav Merchela, therefore, continues in the back three. You might remember, collided with a goalpost here 12 months ago, leading to that very lengthy delay. Joel Chianese is preferred again to Chris Economides. He's got 5 goals in 11 games against the Mariners. Bruno Fornaroli has 7 in 9, including 4 in 4 here in Gosford. Couple of big-name imports to keep an eye on. Milan Djuric, who's just got the water bottle to the face there inadvertently. He's in pretty good nick at the moment. Scored in all 3 of his home matches for the Mariners so far this season, and is their top goal scorer overall with 4 in 8. And of course, a man always worth watching when he's playing for Perth is Diego Castro. 2 goals last time out in that 6-2 win for Perth over Newcastle. Intriguingly, he's never ever scored here in Gosford. The Mariners not one of his favourite opponents, just 2 goals in 10 games against the team in yellow overall. So all set on this warm evening in Gosford. Ben Abraham, the man with the whistle. And it is the Mariners who get the ball rolling. 12 months ago, we nearly had a contender for the greatest quiz question ever, Andy Harper, after the broken goalpost incident. Which A-League game straddled 2 calendar years? Didn't quite go that far, but let's hope for more regulation talking points tonight, eh?
Well, are you going to try and get that quiz into next year's Christmas crackers?
Well, it didn't happen,
go around
so
the dinner tables of Australia.
It didn't happen.
I'm sure you could find a derivative. Well, let's say cheerio to 2019 with a ripping game here. The Mariners have built some sort of foundation, and we'll be looking to capitalise on that in Perth. Starting to send, in my opinion, a few shockwaves around the competition with their recent form, more like the Perth we've expected. So all set to go off here on New Year's Eve 2019.
And the Mariners, as pointed out by Daniel McBreen, much more resilient this season. That was a lovely touch by Silvera. Played into the box by De Silva, who'll get the return here off Jair. Early chance, and it comes off the post. And the Mariners so close to taking the lead. Bang on 1 minute, still might do. Djuric's cross, headed away by Alex Grant. What a burst by Danny De Silva. Lovely link up with Jair.
Well, you call it a premonition or a feeling, but immediately pre-game, when asked what his first assignment was, Danny De Silva said, get a few comfortable touches and settle into the game. Wow, what a start that could have been. Maybe should have been, with that sort of space made. Perhaps disappointed that it didn't ultimately go in. But a very exciting start for the Mariners fans, and a great burst by the former Perth man, Danny De Silva.
He made his debut for the Glory, aged just 15. He scored against them earlier on this season in that 2-1 win back in round 4. And that's how close he was to opening the scoring on New Year's Eve. Liam Reddy with not the best clearance from a Perth perspective. Stensness will work it out towards Lewis Miller. Strong start by Alan Stagic's team. Looking to get on the front foot early. The end of a decade that's had some great highs for the club. That title win, of course, in 2013 under Graham Arnold, who also won the premiership with them.
Yeah, who could forget that year? Brilliant stuff. But of course, and he's in the house tonight, Laurie McKenna. One of the key individuals to start the whole process here at the Mariners. And I'm sure I speak on behalf of everyone with even a passing interest that those glory days be revisited as soon as possible.
Perth have had their glory day, or days, in 2019. Just couldn't quite get over the line in the grand final against Sydney. This is Joel Chianese, the former Sydney FC winger. Diego Castro looking to attack, top of the box. Got a lucky touch there, still Castro, and still around Ziggy Gordon. And it all got rather crowded in that penalty area, and therefore a corner is the end result. But it could have been more for Castro and Perth.
Well, the ball shifted to the left and Castro, and it took just a little while for Stensness to get over there. Ziggy Gordon commits himself. That could have finished poorly for him, and then the rebound might have stung them as well. So inside 3 minutes, we've seen key protagonists for either side with a great raid on their opposing goal. De Silva for the Mariners and Castro for Perth.
Vutric, Grant and Murchler, the three central defenders, looking at the back post. It's Castro and Kilkenny to drive it low and hard towards the near. Couldn't find the direction.
That is a fantastic shooting angle, and he's, I'd suggest, a little disappointed with himself. What a great chance for Kilkenny. Such a high-quality player and so much space. There's no read from the Mariners here at all. De Silva tries to adjust, but he needed help. Wasn't necessarily his assignment alone, and that opening for Kilkenny was an excellent one.
Talking of openings, what a bright start to this game from both sides. There is Alan Stajic. It's been a tough 2019, of course, for him, with that ongoing Matilda story, which has dominated the headlines over the better part of the last 12 months. But he's doing a good job with the Central Coast, and his win-loss percentage, Harbs, is the best with the Mariners since the days of Phil Moss, and they've had a few coaches since then. So starting to rebuild piece by piece this Central Coast Mariners outfit. Helped on by Meredith. This is Castro. It's a lovely release, beautifully done. Chianese held up by Orr, and there is an appeal for handball there. Pretty strong one too by Chianese. Now Ben Abraham's seen nothing, but the VAR might. Chris Griffiths-Jones in the booth this evening. Let's have another look, Hubs.
Well, it's a fantastic ball from Castro. Let's deal with the facts as we could have seen them. Tommy Orr leaning in. That has rebounded off his hip onto his hand. Perhaps it was the second action as I'm seeing it. We're going to get an angle, a reverse angle on that one.
Yeah, that's what we need. We're on the blind side, aren't we, from this side, and Ben Abraham was too.
The players should get out of the ref's face, and the ref should insist they get out of his face while this is sorted. Beautiful ball from Castro. The first touch from Chianese is a little less convincing. Might have avoided this little stoppage had he been a little more focused and got a shot on goal himself.
Just a throw-in is what I'm reading from the mouth of Ben Abraham.
I'm reading this as an inadvertent bounce off the hip, deflected accidentally, and then did he play at the ball with his hand, or was his hand just there as part of a normal motion? And that'd be my interpretation of the VAR's reading.
It's a trip by Chianese. Haven't we had some VAR drama this round of the A-League?
Equally, haven't the officials been getting some global accolades for the way they've handled it? Credit where it's due.
There's a little rider to that, though. It must be said that's probably because they're having their first season of it, particularly in the English Premier League. So it's become a bit of a flavour of the month thing, hasn't it? But they're certainly impressed with the way we've developed things here with it in Australia. There's Tony Popovic, who's got a big 2020 ahead, of course, with the club's first dabble into the Asian Champions League. He'll also be looking to break his drought, of course, in grand finals if Perth can get there. 4 losses in big showpiece occasions for Tony Popovic. That's going to go all the way through to Mark Birighitti. Let's go down to Adam Peacock for his take on the penalty shout.
Evening, Simon. Evening, Harps. Yeah, Tony Popovich not very happy about the fact that the linesman is right there. Why do we have to rely on video evidence? Don't worry about the video. Don't blame it on the VAR. The linesman's right there. You should be able to see what happened there with Tommy Orr's hand. But, yeah, not happy, Popper.
Thanks, Adam. Castro through. Chance here, Chiodese. And Birighitti made himself big and made the block with the leg. Great chance, though, again for Perth. Diego Castro again, the architect. Here's Franich. Chiodese involved again, this time down the right. Fornaroli in the penalty area near post. Iggy Gordon brave in the challenge. And the touch was heavy off Kilkenny. But after that strong start by the Mariners, Andy, it's Perth in the ascendancy at the moment.
It's been a stronger comeback from the Glory. They've had 3 great chances on goal. Chionese's the latest and the best of them. Here's another one about to brew.
And it's Fornaroli, top of the box, looking to bend it. Straight at Birighitti this time. Not his best effort, the Uruguayan. Yep, he knows it.
They need to tighten up. The Mariners, they have a lot of space between players, and that space is being exploited by Perth when they have the ball.
Here's Tommy Orr continuing in that left fullback role. Jair got a good touch on that. Looks for the return off De Silva. It'll be a Perth Glory throw. Hard to believe it's 7 years ago since Danny De Silva made his debut. Still looks pretty fresh-faced, as he should do, really, as a 22-year-old. Well, more so than you and me, Harps, anyway.
I reckon you're looking pretty fresh-faced for something.
Oh, you too, Andrew. Jair on the stretch. Couldn't prevent it getting through to Franich. Final touch off Chiodese. Mariners throw. Perth don't have a particularly good record here in Gosford. Only 4 times in 20 trips, but those 4 wins do include their last 2 visits, including that New Year's Eve game here 12 months ago by 4-1. Milan Djuric making progress. They don't want to let him get within shooting range with his prowess. Lewis Miller sent a little wider than he wanted, perhaps, but he'll get the corner off Meredith.
Well, positive play by Miller. But you talk about Milan Djuric, I think I'm right in saying has impressed everybody. How he hits that pass to send Lewis Miller via the Mooney Bridge to pick up the ball is ridiculous. Like, this is the sign that the Mariners not quite there to start the match. Just that little bit off. Outside of the start from De Silva, which was the run-in on goal, the beautiful effort curling which hit the post. That pass by Djuric is an indicator as to why they've been a little sloppy around the other parts of the field.
They do have a corner, though, which Tommy Orr will fire way back towards Djuric, who's a long way out. I think the intention was to have a crack, even from that range. But it's not worked out for the home side. Instead, it breaks for Kilkenny on the right for Perth. Square of him is Hyundai, the Spaniard, who was too slow. Stolen on the blind side by Jair and then turned over promptly by the Brazilian. And back come Perth. Castro. Fornaroli. Castro didn't read the intent.
Well, a bright start for 10 minutes, but that was a lamentable sequence from both sets of players.
Let's go back down to Adam. What's the weather like down there, Adam, with these bushfires? And I think you mentioned the strong southerly was on its way as well.
Yeah, so the last 5 minutes it started to get smokier because there's a bushfire 30 k's north. That's now not going to be a factor because the palm trees, the sauce bottles, they're going to be tested in the next 10 to 15 minutes. A huge southerly is just blown through, started. The conditions, it's really cool conditions, but it's going to make life difficult if they don't keep the ball on the deck in these next 15 minutes. It's yeah, it's going to be interesting.
And fair to say, Adam, the way the wind is blowing, it's with Perth in this first half.
Yeah,
it gets
very
stronger,
much so.
It's going to be even more so.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be at the levels of Mark Bosnich, Cogra Oval a few years ago. That kind of thing, if you can picture that.
I know exactly what you're referring to. I'm going to say no more about it. is Kim Un-sun, whose compatriot Kim Soo-bom is on the Perth Glory bench tonight. Saw them having a good chat pre-game. The Korean fires it forwards, but Vutric has front position ahead of De Silva.
Didn't eavesdrop on their conversations, huh?
My Korean is not the best, unfortunately. Stretches to Kamsamnidar, and that's about it. You and I did have a lot of fun in South Korea a few years ago when we listened to the Korean commentators saying, shoot!
Yeah, it's a very distinctive style. As does the Mariners' Kim, who was a big name off-season recruit. Big pedigree out of the K-League. Took him a few games to get fit and ready to play, but I think he's really cemented himself in the last few appearances and showing all his football quality to the Mariners fans. Been a very, very good acquisition.
This is Milan Djuric. And one for Jair to chase, and he's got there ahead of Murchler. The bounce was awkward, but he slips it through almost. Well, that's probably a goal-saving intervention from Ivan Franic. But what about the work from Jair? That was terrific.
Ball over the top, which is expertly dealt with by Jair. Stoops. And Silvera would have been onside. So this tackle needs to be made. And there's no need to complain about the corner that's been conceded for Silvera interfering with play.
So Tommy Orr to deliver, more conventionally this time. Stooping header away from Tomislav Murchler. Now they'll scatter upfield. Turn with interest, and look how the breeze holds that ball up, and drops nicely for Djuric, but the back heel catches Lewis Miller off guard.
0 from 2 for Milan. Passes in the attacking zone, very makeable. Pressure off for Perth Glory. It's unlike him to be so wasteful.
Glory wasteful from their own throw-in as well. Handing the ball immediately back to the home side. Here's Gordon. Gets the return off Stensness. Mariners looking for their third consecutive home win. If they manage to do that, it'll be the first time since the 2015-16 season they've been able to do that. Flags up against De Silva here. That stat really does show how much they've struggled in recent seasons, but maybe on the comeback trail under Alan Stajic. Here's Joel Chianese on the right. Thought about taking on Tommy Orr, eventually outnumbered as Kim Un-sun made it a 2 against 1. Phil Kenny had a swing at it but couldn't make contact. This is Kim Un-sun and Jair again, herring after it. Grant in hot pursuit, and Grant is quick this time. Wasn't going to be done twice, was he? Touch around the corner from Jair. Tommy Orr. It's beyond Silvera. Should be comfortable enough for Vutric and now Meredith. And again, conversely, look at how the wind gets behind that ball as it goes sailing up the other end.
A lot of imagination in that from Meredith. It was just get this out of here and get reset.
Win today for the Mariners would take them into 8 spots at the turn of the year, above Melbourne Victory. This is Hyundai. Good turn by Chianese. Oh, a snapshot. And Viraghetti happy to see it sail over the top because it had a bit of power behind it.
Yeah, Hyundai just holding off on a little drop over the top for Franjic. You see the ball spread to the centre, and one day looks at Franjic. His first thought is, can I drop in the right fullback? Instead fires it into Chianese, who shows he has got a good left foot. That's a good touch and shot. And that's probably the option he should have utilised with that very good chance earlier in the half when he looked to stab it home with the outside of his right foot. Birighitti saved on that occasion, but if Chianese steps and shoots with his left, I reckon Perth go one up at that point.
Scored the third goal for Glory in that 6-2 win last time out against the Jets. And as mentioned in pre-game, does have a very good record against the Mariners. 5 goals in 11 games. It's slightly wayward with that effort. This is Kim Un-sun. Jair showed too much of it to Hyundai, trying to atone for the error. Sliced into the stand by Tommy Orr. Castro. Dylan Fox with the intervention. Now with Lewis Miller. And Mariners can build down the right. Milan Djuric on the move. And Meredith backpedaling, but isn't going to get there. It's not the best cross into the box from the Serbian. That can sometimes be the problem with that back three. Leave spaces to be exploited on either flank. Ball dropped in now to make it sort of more of a back five. It's more those transitional moments, really. Meredith, the greatest respect to him. He's a very good player, twice capped Australian international, but Jason Davidson, of course, was such a key part of that Glory success story last season. Stensner's slightly heavy touch might have opened the door for Fornaroli. He gets his clearance again, held up in the air. And it goes off Vutric, the Swiss central defender. Samuel Silveira, but was coming back from an offside position, didn't quite mark his run in time, and that wind really started to get up. You can tell with the palm trees on the right, Harps, just how strong it's becoming. Even the sauce bottles starting to shake in their moorings.
Well, there's a couple of humans anchored to the guy ropes up.
Yep, the mustard's gone down. Mustard's gone. Tomato sauce, barbecue sauce on standby.
We're out of mustard here in Gosford. Still barbecue and tomato to go. Keep those hot dogs fresh and ready.
There we go. It's a sad sight.
That's an ex-sauce bottle. Bereft of life.
I think there's maybe a tomato ketchup bottle gone down as well on that side.
It's ceased to be.
Glanced off the head of Fornaroli, but again the wind making things very tricky. In fact, all those sauce bottles are going to come down. When was the last time this happened, Harbs? There's always drama in the New Year's Eve game in Gosford.
Well, this is a scandal of monumental proportions.
Djuric let it run. Miller wasn't quite on the same wavelength. Castro. And it's going to get away from Franjic.
Very, very difficult to adjust for the players, but adjust they're going to have to. Quick, smart. One player who did adjust was Miller with that ball forward just then. He hit the ball into the teeth of the breeze. It held up beautifully.
Miller clattering into Meredith. Momentum taking him there. Meredith's not really at fault, so he was just standing there.
James Meredith is completely entitled to put his body in there and swing for that one. Dangerous, just Miller trying to drag it in.
Now we're going to take a drinks break there. It is still very warm despite a stiff breeze now blowing across this picturesque venue in Gosford. Eye drops for Mark Birighitti. Maybe he got a bit of action, the eye there. Let's go down to Adam Peacock again.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. The temperature has dropped hugely, so I reckon we're looking at mid to low 20s at the moment as opposed to 30 at kickoff. But I did speak to an FFA representative. They said, look, on temperature alone, there's no... OK, it's not the greatest time to have a drinks break, but the air quality is a factor as well. It's not that great, even though the southerlies come in. I mean, there's bushfires everywhere in New South Wales, so it's probably blowing in some smoke from somewhere else or ash. It's not really pleasant down here. There's a bit of dust in the air as well because we're going through a drought. So that's why they've taken the drinks break, and there will be one in the second half because the policy is if there's one in the first, you've got to take another one in the second half as long as the one in the first half. So it was agreed upon 30 minutes before kickoff. That's the policy. They've stuck with it, and going on the air quality, it's probably fair enough that they are having a drinks break.
Absolutely. Thanks, Adam. Not sure I want to be on that fairground ride either that we saw in the background in this particular weather. Yeah, tough conditions for the players and fans alike, of course. They've had to navigate their way to the ground through hot conditions. There they are, in hope and expectation of what would be a third consecutive home win for the Central Coast.
Well, since Danny De Silva hit the post a minute into the game, all the chances have been at the northern end of the ground, care of Perth Glory. Another one possibly brewing there.
Broken up though by Stensness. There's an infringement by Silvera on Murchula. Looking to make his mark. He's had to contend himself with a place on the bench in recent weeks, the former Western Sydney Wanderers junior. Getting his chance tonight ahead of Jordan Murray. Meredith through the legs of Miller for Castro, squared up by Kilkenny. This is Hyundai. Franich waiting for it on the right. Chianese in option, clips it into the box towards Fornaroli, who chests it down and then tries to wrestle his opponents out of the way. And the bounce upfield completely bamboozles Jair. All the sauce bottles now gone. As you say, Harbs, very rare, very forlorn sight at the Brisbane Water end of the ground. Franich nudged over unfairly by De Silva. He doesn't think so, but Ben Abraham is the man whose decision counts. You can see the debris blowing across the pitch, some from those palm trees. See if Perth can use stiff breeze to their advantage. Castro's going to leave it for Kilkenny. Again, Vutric, Grant, Murchula, all in the middle along with Franich and Fornaroli. Partly away, back in by Franich, away by Silvera again. Lewis Miller first to react, and there'll be a throw for the Mariners off Hyundai, who does a very effective and unheralded job in the centre of the park for Perth. More effective tackles than any other player in the A-League. The classic water-carrying role, as it used to be known. Gordon to go long. Easy win in the air for Vutric. Kilkenny had such an outstanding campaign last season for Perth. Here he is again on the ball. Intervention by Dylan Fox, though. At the moment, there's nothing too much coming from the Mariners. They're just trying to really hold Perth at bay.
Yeah, they're in a hole, and it hasn't quite occurred to them yet that high ball's up to halfway, sitting in the teeth of this breeze. That's manna from heaven for the tall timber at the back. And Sammy Silvera versus Tommy Murchula, with the ball that's hanging in the air in the breeze. That's no contest at all. Murchula wins it, or Grant wins it, or Vutrick wins it. Kilkenny starts to play. Perth dominating possession.
There it is. Kilkenny was screaming for it. He's got it now via Fornaroli. Ziggy Gordon sees him off at the pass at the expense of a corner. Glory's starting to get those little combinations working in and around the penalty area.
Nice run off the ball from Kilkenny. Ziggy Gordon possibly can shepherd that one out, but he doesn't want to take any chances, and that's fair enough.
We've just got a slight delay because we've got some more flotsam and jetsam on the pitch, which a ball boy has now gone to retrieve. All sorts of things. There's his big moment. Happy New Year to you, young sir. And the corner's been worked short for Castro. Top of the penalty area is Hyundai. First touch was heavy. Closed down by Jair, up in the air by Franic. First to react is Orr. It's very difficult. This swirling breeze.
Well, the first
for the players.
thing, when you're playing into the breeze, particularly a stiff one like this, talking about the Mariners now, you've got to get your foot on the ball and keep it on the deck.
Which is what Perth are trying to do, and Chianese has kept it in. Miller should be able to deal with it, and does. Pretty effectively too. Kilkenny, adjusts to have obstructed Silvera. He's got a bit to say about it, Neil Kilkenny.
Well, Neil Kilkenny says no. I tend to agree with him.
He's not skimped on the zinc tonight either, has he, Neil Kilkenny?
Something about the lights here we need to know.
Silva. It's neatly done by Juric. Very intelligent footballer. Not quite enough on that to get through. Good sliding intervention by Vutric.
Well, two passes connecting on an angle through midfield with a supporting player taking up a position between opponents, so the pass can be made to them, and the Mariners make their way into the Perth half of the field. It's not rocket science.
Taken the lead in each of their 4 home games so far this season, the Central Coast. They've opened the scoring in 6 of their 9 matches all told, which has given them crucially something to defend. They've shown precious little in an attacking sense since hitting the post through De Silva in the opening moments. Maybe they can conjure up something here. Stensness harass James Meredith. Bounce all the way through for Birighitti. Perth with a chance to go 3rd on the ladder tonight, ahead of Western United, going into 2020 if they can get the win. And that would represent a really good recovery, Andy, given that they were bottom after 7 rounds.
Yeah, they've been building very impressively. Yeah, lack of points in the first few rounds wasn't a completely accurate reflection of the way the team was playing, but they've started to bag points along the way, and there'll be a lot of teams looking over their shoulders nervously as Fornaroli and Castro, Kilkenny, Chianese now hit their straps with the Economides on the comeback trail.
Here's James Meredith. Touched by Fornaroli for Castro. Start again through Grant. And now Tomislav Murchula. Finds a little pocket of room for Kilkenny. He'll punch it out towards Franich on the right. Promising move this for the Glory. Little spin by Castro. Castro's going to have a dig himself. And it will be a corner.
There's way too much time for Castro to stop.
That's what Birigitti's saying to his teammates.
And turn. I mean, if Diego Castro receiving the ball on the edge of your penalty after all these years doesn't put the fear of God into you, I don't know what does.
No let up in the wind. You can see how strong that breeze is by the corner flag. Kenny's delivery. And by Danny De Silva of all people. Alex Grant digs it out. Here's Hyundai. Just over the top from the Spaniard.
Yeah, that was really good by Hyundai in the end. And it's pleasing to report some pretty intense pressure from Ziggy Gordon and Miller, who were desperately trying to stop the shot on goal. So well done the defenders, but equally off balance, touch taking him wide, and makes Birighitti dive for it. Good work by the Spaniard.
Only ever scored one goal in the A-League, and that was a penalty against the Wanderers last season. Again, look at how the wind holds that up. You heard the gasps from the gallery here in Gosford. Look at that shot count, heavily favouring Perth. Here they come again through Franich into the penalty area. Castro. And there was a foul in there on Stensness. Now, the good news for Alan Stajic, Andy, is that for all this pressure, Mark Birighitti hasn't had too many saves to make.
There's the foul correctly adjudged by Castro. And just that telling one off Chianese, the best chance of the match early on.
Not necessarily as pleased with that challenge. On Stajic keeping his counsel. Ben Abraham just checking there's nothing else he needed to have a look at.
Just reaching in with that right arm of his. Forearm.
I don't think there's anything too much untoward. He's clearly caught him, but no real intent from Grant. Here's Miller. Losing out to Fornaroli. Fornaroli's so clever, isn't he?
Well, he made the space to start with Fornaroli beautifully. And that's for Miller, who's caught the wrong side, and then he just showed him too much of the line and then overcompensating here. He's a brute of a young man. The idea of him maybe moving a little more central.
I think that was all experience, that from Fornaroli. I thought he felt for the contact. Not saying it wasn't a foul, but here's the cross towards the Uruguayan. Up in the air it goes off Ziggy Gordon. And again off Stensness. And the Mariners struggling to clear their lines here. De Silva will help out. It has been largely played in this half of the field. You can hear the home fans trying to urge their team on. The active fans, I think, have disbanded 2 or 3 times. There's another little splinter group trying to have a go, I'm told, and get the fans involved. It's only small, but you got to start somewhere. The band have disbanded. That's my intel. So no sauce bottles, no band. What's going on here in Gosford? Territorial map just sort of underlines what we've been saying about the action on the pitch. So we've been at that end of the field. Fornaroli. Franic. Neat footwork from the fullback. Cross charge down by Orr. Chianese scrapping for it. There were two Mariners there. Orr and De Silva. They won out through sheer weight of numbers. It's pretty disappointing though from Jair.
Just repeatedly failing the Mariners to find a passing sequence by and large from defence to midfield.
Fornaroli again, clever use of the body.
The result is Perth just keep coming wave after wave.
Franic, plenty in the middle to try and pick out. Fornaroli's one. Again, Stensness with the aerial win that was crucial for the Mariners. Danny De Silva, how cool was that? And heavy pressure from Hyundai. Now they can sweep forward. Juric's ball, and Silvera just perhaps didn't read the fact that the breeze was going to hold that up.
No, it was shaping up nicely. Excellent play by De Silva. One thing the Mariners have done very well, ultimately, so far tonight, is defend their penalty area. They've been very dogged in numbers and in the challenge, very committed defensively inside their own penalty area. And on that occasion, they had a decent breakout shaping. Silvera just didn't react, unfortunately. That's the sort of space you want young Sammy Silvera to get the ball and excite the fans. He just wasn't quite ready for it.
Milan Juric, it's another misplaced pass from the Serbian. It's better placement from Castro, you'd expect nothing less. Franic on the move again, trying to goes through the gap between Orr and Kim. Korean winning out. Now with Jair, the Brazilian. Space here for Miller on the right. Silvera. Read that one all right. And then lost out to Meredith. Castro. Chianese. There's nobody wide left for him, so Chianese's got to wait for some support. Meredith. Hyundai. Castro. Again, Franic was an option, but chose not to use him, at least not yet. Maybe he's just going to go all on his own, Diego Castro. There was a foul there, but advantage played. Chianese in possession. Castro's unhappy that the whistle didn't come. He's now been informed by Ben Abraham that was for advantage. Here's Fornaroli with his back to goal. Franic, again, the Mariners defending in depth. Hyundai, Meredith. Can they unpick the lock, Perth? Franic. Back through Kilkenny this time. Too high for Chianese, easy for Fox in the end. And now the Mariners can break. And they've got three in this attack. Mariners maybe on getting a chance here through Jair, but well, so wayward was his efforts, it's actually gone out for a throw.
Well, it was an attack that had a bit of liveliness about it, which is a positive. And again, their pass completion rate in general has been very poor this first half, but they've shown what they can do with players in motion and passes that hit the target. Unfortunately, the last one didn't hit the target, missed it by quite some way from Jair. That looked lively up until then.
Meredith got a touch lucky there. His clearance was straight at Tommy Orr. Again, perhaps just a little tricky to read in the breeze in the air. Forward it goes off Birighitti. Down by Juric. Jair wanted it wide left. Instead they go down the right side. First Miller, now De Silva. Stensness. Tommy Orr invited to join in. Looking to use the breeze. Not one of his better efforts, Tommy Orr. has one of the better completed cross ratios in the A-League of any player. Not on that last passage of play. Here's Miller. Stensness. Tommy Orr. Shahir looked much better up until that point in time. Sort of underlines your points. They just can't string anything together, the Central Coast.
Well, there's a lack of cohesion on that last attack as well. Players not really showing any particular initiative. Tommy Orr tried to get it going, but there was no one making it a definitive run in front of him. And so it all became a bit ad hoc and then lost the ball as a result.
Heading towards the final minutes of the first half. Tommy Orr putting out in front of Shahir. Liam Reddy thought about coming together and let Alex Grant take control instead. Look how it spun away off the head of Kim On-sun. A chance for you to give us your assessment of this first half, Andy.
Well, the wind's been the dominant player. Perth have dealt with it a lot better. They've had the majority of chances on goal. The Mariners have shown, if only on a couple of occasions, but still nevertheless, that they've got a bit of zip in transition. Jair's got plenty of toes. Sammy Silvera, we know, or what we know of him at least, very exciting across the ground. Djuric, very clever player. De Silva, no slouch either. So there's plenty of room to go for the Mariners if they can get their share of the ball, and the second half changes the dynamic because they've played poorly into the wind. Let's see how they go against the wind, and you'd expect Perth to build on a rather comfortable and promising start late in this first half.
Laid off by Fornaroli. Castro, can they get reward for this first half dominance? So we move into 3 minutes of additional time. Here's Franich looking to get around Tommy Orr, and that's going to be a corner for Perth. On my count, they've had 6 decent sights of goal, the Glory. They only had 8 shots in total against the Jets last time out and scored 6. They've been much more profligate today. But overall, I think Tony Popovic, goals aside, will be relatively satisfied in his team's first half display. Goal would make him even happier. Kilkenny's corner. Buttrick underneath it. Oh, there's the goal. How about that for a dispatch by you-know-who? Diego Castro scores at one of the few grounds where he's never done so before. It's El Maestro for Perth Glory.
Well, in stoppage time, it's one of the A-League's best, and players of lesser technique blaze away from those situations, sometimes to positive effect, sometimes not. But Diego Castro, unerring, the bouncing ball, and he strikes right through the middle. It's beautiful technique to control it in that manner. Sensational from Diego Castro.
Well, he started the decade back in his native Spain. He ends it not just a Perth Glory legend, but safe to say an A-League legend as well. It's his 4th of the season, his first ever here in Gosford, and his 46th overall. He is some player. And probably on balance, Andy, that scoreline's fair enough.
Completely. Completely fair result for Perth Glory. Need to ensure they see it out from here. However, they've played well in difficult conditions.
Here's Silvera looking to get the Mariners all square before the interval. Tommy Orr with time. Towards Jair. Grant Got good distance on the clearing header. Back it'll come through Lewis Miller. That should be comfortable enough for Liam Reddy. Back at one of his many former clubs. Perth set for what would be a third consecutive win here in Gosford. Maybe not with passes like that straight to Silveri's all on his own. Oh, but he still forces a really fine stop out of Liam Reddy. That's the Mariners' best chance since Danny De Silva hit the post in the first minute of the game.
Well, this is the magic of Sammy Silvera. The youngster picks up the ball, but there are 5 Perth Glory players in the vicinity. He makes space on his left and backs himself. Liam Reddy does brilliantly there. That's a fantastic save.
Here's the corner. Oh, the bounce has evaded Kim On-sun as well. And that is half-time. So the Mariners ended it on a high, but for the most part, they've been on the back foot. Perth have been the dominant force. The wind has made it really difficult. Perth created an awful lot of half chances. And then in first half stoppage time, who else but Diego Castro with a clinical left-footed strike. And it is the strike that gives the Glory the lead at the interval. That's the way of things here in Gosford. Central Coast Mariners 0, Perth Glory 1 at the break. Let's go down to Adam Peacock.
Thanks, Simon. Mark Berrigitti, I don't know how much you saw of that half because you're looking in the wind. I saw you come over for eye drops. How difficult are these conditions when you're looking that way?
Oh, mate, very difficult. As you said, you saw me coming over to the bench, sand or dust, whatever it is, coming from the ocean. Yeah, it's quite difficult. So, we're lucky now we've got the second half, and hopefully Rocket has the same problem.
Yeah, you just don't turn around in that second half. And you got the scoreboard there as well. The goal. Did you see much of it off the boot from Castro?
Yeah, it's been our Achilles heel this year. Obviously, set pieces against, we've conceded, quite a few goals, and, it was sloppy from us, to give away a goal, late on in the second half. But, plenty of positives. We'll go in, regroup, and come out strong for the second half.
Cheers, mate. Good luck. Mark Berrigitti there. We're back after the break from a windswept, all of a sudden, Central Coast Stadium. Myself and Daniel McBreen to analyse all the highlights from that first half. Back in a moment.
It's a safe and fun environment for a future Hyundai A-League or W-League star. Find the program near you by heading to miniroos.com.au. And please welcome to the field participants from Blundell and Yamina this evening. Fair play and mutual respect are fundamental to football. Spectators must comply with the Hyundai A-League terms of admission and the venue's conditions of entry, including
we should do it in the park.
security screening and intoxication. Any spectator identified with a prohibited item or assessed as unduly intoxicated may be refused entry, evicted from the stadium, potentially banned from attending future matches, and handed over to police for further questioning. We ask you to respect your fellow spectators by refraining from illegal and dangerous activities.
Yep.
Because he's not here.
Cool, mate.
Yep.
It's been a good Christmas, hasn't it?
Half time. It's been another wild New Year's Eve game at Gosford. Not as dramatic as the last season. We haven't copped the delays we did with Tommy Machala going in to the goal, but we have lost the sauce bottles, and Perth Glory have got themselves the lead. Windswept are the conditions all of a sudden after hot, after smoky, after bushfires around. Everything, Daniel McBreen, again.
It's New Year's in Central Coast. Something has to happen.
Yeah, as long as Tommy Machala lives up to his New Year's resolution and stays out of the damn goal in the second half, everyone will go home happy. But we'll see what happens with the second half. First of all, just to give you an idea about the conditions here. So just about 20 minutes into the game, this huge southerly came through, and this is the first time surely this has happened. You've played here many a time, Daniel, looking at those glorious sauce bottles. And as Stuart Gerrard summed up to me on Twitter, a scandal of continental proportions. It's a good one, isn't it?
That's good, mate. That's good. Well, you predicted it before the game that it was suddenly to hit, and it really did. And it made really trying conditions for both teams, particularly the Mariners who were against that win. And the Glory have actually taken advantage of that just near the end.
Yeah, let's have a look at the goal then. Diego Castro, just pure technique. Fantastic player. We know he's capable of just about everything, and this is proven again. It's the Mariners from set pieces in the switch-off time.
Well, the thing is, during the first 45 and a half minutes, they actually defended crosses and set pieces not too bad. They got to the second ball, they won all the headers, and they just, Alan Stadgers could be really disappointed. They just switch off the last couple of minutes before half-time, and of all the people you want not to fall to, it's Diego Castro, and he's used that technique to keep it down. It's a very hard technique that as the ball's bouncing, gets it down in the corner, 1-0.
Now, you pointed out when Perth played Newcastle and Castro was floating everywhere to try and get on the ball out of frustration because things weren't quite in sync for Perth Glory then. Have you noticed a difference watching him live again after Perth have won these 3 games in a row?
Yeah, look, he always floats around everywhere, but he's not going as deep anymore. He's still happy to come into that deeper midfield role, but he's not dropping further back. And then when he does get the ball, they've been getting quite a lot of space down Ivan Franjić's side, and he looks to get that ball out to his side, and they get players in the box. But you know, in tight areas like this, you can see this, the Mariners defenders, they don't want to dive in because he's the kind of guy that will just nick the ball away and it's a penalty. But he's an all-round talent, and as we say, that's a hard technique to do. Keep that ball down and find the corner. It's absolutely fantastic finish.
Beautiful goal. Let's have a look at Danny De Silva. He nearly had a moment in the early stages. Now, this is before the wind came, when the smoke was still around. Did you feel that as the half went on, the Mariners just changed with the conditions, didn't know how to deal with it? Because the way they started right here was superb. Yeah,
they started off quite positive. The game was probably a little bit more even, but as you say, the wind came in. But this was exceptional. You know, a nice little ball up front, and the good interplay. And you see the little reverse pass, and he just says, you know what, I'm going to have it. And he's only inches away from bending that into the far corner.
Yeah, superb movement. This was minute 1. 1 minute in, Danny De Silva, he said to half before the game that he wanted to get going early. He did nearly get things going early in the best possible fashion for the Central Coast Mariners. Then there was this, Daniel.
Yep. This is the last minute of the half. He waited the whole 46 minutes, and he said, you know what, we've finally got some ball up this end, and he had no real support. He had 3 defenders in front of him, just shifted the ball onto his left foot, and for all money, it looked like it was bending in that top corner. But Liam Reddy got a nice hand on it.
So does Central Coast now look at how Perth went about their business in that first half and just say, let's try and play exactly the same way? In terms of with the wind, with the conditions, because it is a huge factor.
Yeah, look, we saw the way the ball was holding up. You know, I sat at the top, and my thoughts were, if you're going to play against this wind, you can just push up man on man and say, well, you either got to beat us 1v1 or you got to go long. And if it goes long, there's only one winner because that ball's going to come back. So Perth really have to try and get that ball down and play through. But I would be pushing high with the Mariners and really putting them under pressure in their back third.
Have they got it in them to be able to just flick a switch? Because it looked like they were waiting for half-time at stages in that first half, because it is so difficult. There were no combinations whatsoever going.
Yeah, look, it's this changing from one win to going against it is completely different. And I think the Mariners, it probably suit them because it's getting stronger as we speak. I think we're about to get blown away. But I think, look, they have to be aggressive now. They have to go. They're 1-0 down. They've got to go and chase the game and put Perth under as much pressure at their end as possible.
They've got options off the bench. There's a guy like Jordan Murray who did quite well last week. Now, we don't know if he hasn't come up. That's why he's not starting the game. Is he the factor off the bench that Alan Stadgers might be looking for in the second half?
He could be, or you've got Matt Simon as well. You know, if you're thinking about putting balls into the box just to cause some havoc, well, there's your man for that. But either of those would be good options in the second half, because that ball's swirling around and anything can happen. And both of those are goal scorers, so you want them on there.
It's Matt Simon-like conditions, isn't it?
Perfect.
Just creating havoc with everything.
It is.
We're off to a quick break. The second half, the last half of 2019 coming your way on Fox Sports from the Hyundai A-League. What will happen? Will it switch around with the win? The Mariners, will they dominate, or Perth Glory hang on and go third? Back in a moment to find out.
Yeah, hello, Simon.
Yeah.
Hello, fella.
Gotcha.
Give us a bit more chat there, Simon.
Hello. Cymdeithas Cymsylia Cymraeg. Croeso
Cymraeg,
Abertawe, Eidinus
Jesus, good.
Caerdydd.
Oh, my good.
That good, eh?
Hey, he's very good. It's better than me.
Who am I talking to? Is it Stadge or Popper?
Sorry, some guy's trying to talk to me.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the field for the second half, your Central Coast Mariners.
Welcome back to wild and windy Gosford. And it was Diego Castro who blew in like a hurricane in first half stoppage time to give Perth Glory the advantage. His first ever goal here in Gosford, and one on the balance of play that Tony Popovich will probably feel his side deserves. So Glory on track for 4 straight wins after being bottom of the league after 7 rounds. What can the Mariners do about it? We're going to talk to their coach, Alan Stajic, who's been good enough to give us a couple of moments of his time. Happy Christmas, Happy New Year to you, Alan. I would imagine it would be a lot happier if your team can turn this around second half. What was your assessment of the first 45?
Yeah, look, I thought we started off okay. Obviously, when the Sudley came through, it changed the dynamics of the game for both teams. But, look, I thought we did pretty well. I thought we were pretty organised. I thought we were very disciplined, created a few chances. But, you know, the wind's howling here at the moment, and Perth had that in their favour in the first half. So hopefully it gives us a little bit of an advantage this half.
Any other messages to your team at the break?
No, I thought we did very well. We controlled Castro, and obviously it's a wonderful strike from him on his left foot. But look, I thought we did a good job, you know, for the most part.
Wish you well second half. Thanks
Simon.
very much, Alan. It's the words of Alan Stajic. What is not in his favour, Andy Harper, is that the Mariners statistically are the worst second half team in the A-League. They've scored just twice in the second 45 of games so far this season, but they're starting by spraying the ball around a little bit more crisply than they were in the first half, which was probably your chief complaint.
Yeah, I don't... Look, they didn't adjust to the very difficult conditions. We'll see what Stajic tweaks here now with this gale force wind at their backs.
Well, they worked it through midfield nicely enough for Juric, and he'll sweep it out towards Tommy Orr on the left. Little buzz around the home gallery. Tommy Orr getting to the byline and cutting it in towards Silvera at the near post, but he was closely watched by Vutric, and that's a trip on Kianese by Kim Un-sun. No changes made by either coach at the interval. Alan Stajic, of course, does have the veteran Matt Simon and indeed Jordan Murray. There's two alternatives for his front line. There's one of them, Jordan Murray. Scored just the one goal so far this season. That was a consolation against Melbourne City back in round 5. One in the air by Dylan Fox, and now it's with Lewis Miller. He'll try and use that wind and look at it race away. Jair's after it. And he's not going to get there. So difficult to judge.
Well, the long balls over the top are going to race away. I know they flirted with Usain Bolt this time last year, but short of Usain Bolt in your team, it's not going to be a lot of mileage in that one.
And ready against the wind. Still got good distance. Ziggy Gordon stretching to divert it out of play. Meredith with the throw. Intelligent ball by Fornaroli. It's bringing the game's only goal scorer so far. Diego Castro in turn feeds Meredith. Near post is Kianese. Oh, yes! Beautifully worked by Perth. And Joel Kianese glances it into the far corner for his second goal in 2 games. And Perth are well on track now for 3 points.
It's a really good header this from Kianese. Meredith with the raid down the left whips the ball in with a beautiful angle. There are Mariners there in defence. Castro feeding Meredith. Stensness can't cut off the cross. Tommy Orr is a little bit late, but not really the ideal man to be marking Kianese in that situation. Nevertheless, Kianese still with a fair bit of work to do. And all Mark Birighitti can do is watch that magnificently glanced header sail by for 2-0.
Make that 6 goals in 12 against the Mariners. Told you like playing against the Central Coast. And wow, all of a sudden, seems a fair way back for the Central Coast. There was a lot to enjoy about the way that goal was constructed. The intelligence initially of Fornaroli, the awareness of Castro. The cross from Meredith was a beauty. And that's to say nothing about the delicate finish from Joel Kianese. Really, really good from the Glory.
Well, 2 really good goals either side of the half-time break. Those killer moments so often in football, just before, just after half-time.
Silvera's got away from Vutric, but not so from Juande.
Mariners don't have to look too far back to their last golden moment, and that was Silvera going 1-0 down. He hit that beautiful left foot shot. Very difficult circumstances to force the great save from Liam Reddy.
Juric forcing Lewis Miller to backtrack. Square of him is Stensness. Further back still is Gordon. Now with Fox. Orr. Oh, he's just turned the ball over very carelessly. Tommy Orr to Hyundai. Castro. That's a beauty. Well, I was going to say it was a beauty. Not quite.
It's looking promising for a while.
Milan Djuric. Getting the motors running. Silvera. Returns it for De Silva. This is really good football by the Mariners, and there was an arm across Djuric. Not enough for the Serbian to go down. Now Ziggy Gordon giving chase. Mariners trying to lift, and they need to. De Silva. Again, that's asking an awful lot of Jair. Coolly done by the Glory defence. Grant to go long. Fornaroli trying to hold it up, couldn't quite. Vutric, to be fair, has marked Sammy Silvera terrifically well this evening so far. You hear the sirens in the background, the fire engines going. We hope everybody's safe on this part of the central coast of New South Wales. 2, 3 fire engines racing away to our right. Really is a worrying time of year with this extreme weather. Here's Lewis Miller on the right. Wins it back off Kilkenny. Here's Djuric. Back post is De Silva, and Jair took it away from him. And the flag's up anyway. And De Silva looks rather disgusted with his teammate that he didn't let it run for him.
Yeah, just drifting into that offside position, which took all the sting out. And they've had a couple of promising movements. Have the Mariners. Jair just drifting then, spotted by the assistant on the far side.
And crucially, De Silva was onside. All academic now. And the ball holding up, brought down though by Stensness. Or Kim Un-sun. Perth attempting to press high. Keep the Mariners pinned in their own half of the pitch. Birighitti. Floated out towards Orr. He's turned it over again, Tommy Orr. Could be costly too. Vutric to Castro. Little drop of the shoulder. It's Fornaroli. It could have been 3. And really, that would have been game over. I think it was Ziggy Gordon who made the block. Birighitti is conducting an inquest. Tommy Orr with the spill in the first phase of play.
Birighitti does well here because it does take a deflection. Castro sets it up beautifully. It's a good touch from a difficult angle for Bruno Fornaroli. Gordon slides in at the very least. Gives Birighitti something else to judge, and the Mariners goalkeeper sees it away safely. Good work by him.
Corner for Perth. Tap short by Kilkenny for Castro. Finds the angle superbly for Hyundai. Cannon back off Miller. Kilkenny. Plenty forward, helped on by Grant. Away is the cry for Dylan Fox by Mark Birighitti. It's a good header by Djuric. Nice touch too by De Silva. Should be able to relieve the pressure here, the Mariners. Lumped forward by Orr. That looked like a foul by Meredith on Kim.
Well, I think if you come in challenge for the ball, don't make any contact when you take out a player. Generally, that's a free kick.
Castro. Miller, beauty for Djuric. Solid touch too. Miller, Djuric, still Djuric. Credit to Ivan Franic, who made the block. Up until that point, it was shaping as another Djuric special. You chance your arm to say, Andy?
Yeah, it was a very, very clever player. Beautifully found by Lewis Miller. Gee, that's a fantastic crossfield pass. And I love that little shimmy with the right boot. Opens up for an angle that he thinks going to be favourable, but Franic slides in. The Socceroo anticipates really well to defend Perth's goal. And again, the Mariners have shown that they've got something. Been hit by two very good finishes for Perth Glory, resulting in this current 2-goal deficit. And the Mariners need to tighten up in general. And on occasion, when they get the chance, they've got enough clever players to cause Perth some grief if they're not focusing the Glory.
Popovic looking fairly comfortable at the moment. As soon as I say that, he's out of his seat, barking instructions. He has a good record here in Gosford, actually. Tony Popovic, he's won 6 of his previous 9 visits, including, as I recall, a really crucial one in 12-13, where Labadon Haliti gave the Wanderers all but the premiership with a late goal. Silvera easily out-muscled again by Vutric. Castro. Perth looking to kill the game off. Castro heavily involved, but he's turned the ball over rather casually there for Miller. Now Jair. Tommy Orr relishing the chance to get forward. De Silva. And he was collected by Hyundai. Maybe a set piece is as good a chance as any for the Mariners to put some pressure on Liam Reddy's goal. It's difficult to remember him having a save to make, apart from that Silvera chance first half stoppage time, the one that flew past him from De Silva in the very first minute. Otherwise, it's been a quiet night for Liam Reddy. Maybe that's about to change. Standing in an offside position at the moment. Delivery was too flat, came off Fornaroli. De Silva needs options, goes to a little scoop forward, nodded away by Vutric. Castro and Fornaroli looking to combine. There was a push on Castro. Perth get the decision.
Well, from that Mariners free kick, from which they just coughed and spluttered, and then had to concede a free kick of their own in the centre circle to stop Perth breaking away. So that was a really poor piece of set-piece play from the Mariners. Not the way back into the game.
That didn't go where Fornaroli wanted it to. De Silva. Jair. Inviting Miller forward. De Silva. An awful lot of urgency, though, by the Mariners. Safe to say, Perth have got them right where they want them at the moment. Fox. Gordon out for Orr. They played almost an hour in Gosford. The wind has settled down a little bit, which doesn't exactly play into Mariners' hands either. Juric. Just bounced heavily off the chest of Jair. Alan Stagic's seen enough. Jordan Murray is stripped and ready to come on shortly. Perhaps off a little bit more of an aerial threat. Here's Juric, going to fire one in, and finally some work for Reddy to do.
Which he gobbled up, stayed alert. Liam Reddy, nice strike from Milan Juric. And you wonder how Alan Stajic is going to shuffle this one around. Samuel Silvera has come in for a little bit of criticism from his teammates for a couple of those losses in possession from Tommy Orr.
Yep, that's the change, Andy. Tough night for Samuel Silvera, but he came closest of any Mariner to getting on the score sheets, apart from De Silva in that opening 60 seconds. And Jordan Murray is with us, who actually scored his first ever A-League goal at this venue 12 months ago against Perth, albeit that it was a consolation in a 4-1 loss that night. Oh, a slip by Gordon. This could be curtains. Castro, Fornaroli, couldn't be easier. It's 3 for Perth, and it's a horror show for Ziggy Gordon. Not a happy new year for him, but very much so for Perth and for Bruno Fornaroli.
Well, Yun Sung Kim fires the ball to Ziggy Gordon, never looked particularly comfortable. Unfortunately for him, it's a horrible error from a guy who just digs his studs. Castro with the presence of mind. Ominous for the league that Castro is able to build goal-scoring reservoir with tap-ins like this, because he's going to score a lot more spectacular ones when in form, in red-hot form. And Perth now, you'd have to reckon, are going to finish 2019 with 3 points in the kit bag. Unfortunate for Ziggy Gordon. Bruno Fornaroli there to profit.
There we go, 8 in 10 against the Mariners, and 5 in 5 here in Gosford. He's been one of the best A-League strikers of the decade, so perhaps fitting that he scores on the final day of it. What's your football highlight from the last 10 years, Harps? There you go, that's a big question to ponder.
Wow.
Actually, maybe not. There's a couple of standouts, isn't there? Asian Cup 2015, maybe?
Yeah, well. Yeah, plenty. I should have, I've been working with you for so long, I should have an answer. I should anticipate these sort of left field questions.
I'd like to keep you interested, Hobbs.
Well, I'm interested, Dave. Don't worry about that.
Meredith to clear, not convincingly. Dug out by Kim Un-sun. It's Miller on the right. It's charged down by Castro. Shows he's not afraid of doing defensive work either. Floated into the box by Juric. Chance here for Murray. And he should have scored. He should have made it 3-1. He knows it. Great ball.
Well, off the bench too, this would have made Alan Stajic look great. You've got to finish from there. And whilst Ziggy Gordon will be a lot of the post-match focus, I'd imagine, for his slip hit by the sniper. Check out the grassy knolls while we're here too, Simon. But Jordan Murray, that miss will disappear into the ether. As far as scrutiny is concerned, by comparison, it shouldn't. It should be 3-1. You've got to nail those off the bench. That's your assignment.
You got a moment of the decade, Adam Peacock?
Yes, Asian Champions League, Western Sydney Wanderers victory, and also the Asian Cup 2015, and throw in the rise of the Matildas as well, and the appreciation
Said one
they've got. So
dead set.
Triple dead heat.
How many friends are you trying to make down there?
Well, I've got none at the moment. It's
Pick
pretty
and
cold
stick,
as well.
Peacock.
So.
Pick and stick.
Righto then, genius. You pick one out of that lot.
Don't mind me, gentlemen. Did you have another point to make, Adam? Sorry, mate.
No, not really.
Oh, nice to talk to you.
No, Tony Popovich really happy with the way things have transpired early in this half. Just how high Perth are playing, just constricting the space for Central Coast, and he's at them the whole time. The communication in the midfield, Kilkenny and Hyundai, it's a real standout when you're watching it firsthand, how much they tell their teammates around them what to do. It's good to watch.
Good stuff. Thanks, Adam. They daren't not do, I don't think. Alan Stajic perhaps wearing the demeanour of a man who feels that this game has pretty much got away from his team. But over the course of this season, they've certainly been better, and they might have a chance here. It's Jordan Murray again, working an angle for himself, or at least trying to. Has to come back through Kim Un-sun. Milan Djuric. Perth know all about his shooting prowess. Oh, Kim Un-sun. What a goal that would have been. The little scoop from Djuric and the bicycle kick from Kim Un-sun. If that goes in, it brings the house down.
Well, it's a really good run from Jordan Murray to start with. Then they were wondering why he didn't shoot himself in the end. But the scoop from Djuric, that's almost brought rain, and I shouldn't joke about it because we need plenty of that. It's gone that high, the scoop. And then the taekwondo from Sun. Yusun Kim, beautiful work, brought the crowd to their feet. I haven't seen a bigger scoop than that, Simon, since I went to an ice cream parlour with you on the Gold Coast.
Well, that was a long time ago. That was right at the start of the decade, wasn't it?
Might that be the moment of the football decade for me?
Not the bread in Townsville. That's an in-joke. Sorry, folks. Here's Stensness running into traffic. Pumped forward by Franich. Siggy Gordon determined not to make the same mistake again.
And there's an applause around, a ripple. People respected the fact that last time Ziggy was in that sort of position, he got in all sorts of trouble, but yeah, that was a big moment to bring it down and look to play.
Jordan Murray's had an impact off the bench. It's a good intervention by Vutric again. He's had a good night tonight. Gregory Vutric had a bit of a slow start, perhaps, fair to say, to his A-League career, but found his feet now. Didn't give Silvera much change, and he didn't Jordan Murray there either. Past the midway point of the second half. Home fans again trying to lift their team. In by Orr. Chested down by Murray. The angle wasn't quite there for De Silva. Neil Kilkenny. Oh, that's going to be a booking by Stensness. Blatant.
What a brilliant touch on by Fornaroli. He should take us to the drinks break. Kilkenny away, and you know, Stensness, in my opinion, good enough, athletic enough to run that down fairly. I didn't see Neil Kilkenny running away from Johnny Stensness on that occasion. You know, it's a shortcut and a soft option now on that yellow card.
Well, that is drinks. Johnny Stensness is going to be one of those who'll be at the Olympics in Tokyo next July/August. His New Zealand team has already qualified. The Olyroos, of course, get their opportunity in January. There'll be a few good youngsters missing around the competition for the best part of a month. That might affect the league standings over the next few weeks. As it stands tonight, Perth would end the year in third spot, which would represent a brilliant recovery after that very slow start. And the Mariners, well, they wouldn't be bottom of the pile, that's something. And I think fair to say, Andy, that anything but the wooden spoon this season will be some sort of progress for Mariners. It has to be, doesn't it, after 3 and 4 years?
Yeah, they've certainly plateaued over the last period. The fans, very committed, very loyal, have stuck by them.
We're going to see a second change for the Mariners. Jair's night and year is done. He was lively enough in the first half, although some of the passes didn't stick. And local favourite Matty Simon is on to inject a little bit more grunt into proceedings. The 105th time he's come off the bench in the A-League. He holds the record in that regard. Here's Castro. Perth, for their part, are going to introduce Jake Brimmer. Next break in play. Maybe next break, but one. He's not quite ready. He's going through some last-minute conversations with Hayden Fox as we watch this infringement by Miller on Meredith again. Free kick taken already. Here's Fornaroli. Doesn't need an invitation to shoot. Castro held up by Orr. Stensness, little glance around to see what was on. Finds Simon, his first touch into the last 20 here in Gosford. The last 20 minutes of the decade. Do you remember our first game of the decade together, Andy? Here's your next question.
Needless to say, no.
In the unlikely surrounds of Kuwait.
Yeah, right.
For an international against the Socceroos, an Asian Cup qualifier.
I do remember that game.
January 2010. I seem to remember Dean Heffernan scored that particular night in a 2-2 draw. It's been a long marriage, Hobbs. Kianese. Shut down effectively by Kim On-sun, and then he lost his bearings. Tommy Orr. Miller. Again looking for the crossfield ball. Opts to go short for Juric. Murray. Worked out by Gordon again for Miller. Down the line for Murray. Juric available. Fornaroli across. Just too much of a stretch for De Silva. They're fine margins, but they're crucial. Perth have got a 12-day break before their next assignment, which is at home to Adelaide on the 11th of January. Mariners' next game is across the ditch in Wellington. Woodtrick mistimed, and he's hurt as well. So too Juric. Real strong and clearly painful collision between the two. Oh, I think that left knee has been bent into an awkward position there. Purely accidentally, the follow-through of Milan Juric.
Well, he had Juric
Woodtrick in discomfort.
completely covered. Ball rolled up the sideline for Juric. He wasn't really going to be going anywhere. Woodtrick had him completely covered. Neither player looking particularly comfortable at the moment.
And the message from Tony Popovich to the substitute was, be ready. It's Jacob Tratt who he's speaking to, who would be the natural replacement for the central defender Woodtrick, who looks to be in real pain. Juric is back up and about. Here's how it happened again. No blame to be attached to Juric. It's just heavy contact, but that knee for me is bent into a rather unnatural position. I just hope he's going to be all right, Vutric, because he's been good tonight, Andy.
I think it's been a good acquisition. And we'll leave a hole if he can't continue. You ready to keep going? Let's hope for the sake of the glory he is.
Well, that's a good sign that he's back upon his feet. Now just testing out that knee. There's his vital stats tonight. No, it's not going to happen for him. If he's going to be out for a while with that problem, that would be a big blow for Perth. Especially, as we mentioned, their resources are going to be depleted by the Champions League as well. Juric's free kick meantime, and Reddy maybe got a little deceived there by the flights with the strong breeze.
Of these situations, Simon, the ball swinging in, the really strong breeze behind, it's whatever it takes, and Liam really might have looked a little awkward then, but it's really good goalkeeping. Did everything he could behind the ball and made sure he wasn't deceived by any late swing.
So the Mariners looking to take advantage of extra numbers. Jake Brimmer's ready to come on. Jacob Tratt's going to be with us, I'm pretty sure, shortly as well. Vutric still receiving treatment. Floated forward by Gordon. Good climb by Murray, but the flag is up. And now Perth will be able to make the first of those changes. Well, actually maybe not. They're just going to wait on Jake Brimmer. Perhaps that's understandable given the injury to Vutric. Tony Popovic does have all three of his changes still up his sleeve. He wants to get Jacob Tratt on in place of Vutric first. Here's his chance. So the former Sydney FC and Wellington Phoenix defender, Tony Popovic, has been shown a yellow card, which he's not particularly happy about. Adam Peacock's got more on that.
Simon, he was blowing up about the fact that Gregory Vutric picked up a yellow card for that challenge, and they've been going the whole time at Ben Abraham, and finally he got, I think, within earshot and heard it and decided to book him. So yeah, poor old Jake Brimmer, by the way, he's got the bib back on.
Thanks, mate. Here come the Mariners. Quietly cooking, but wisely keeping his counsel for now after the yellow card. On the pitch, his team doing it pretty cruisy at the moment.
Yeah, the game has dropped into a lull. It's a problem for the Mariners. They're the ones that need to ramp it up. Perth are smoking cigars at the moment. It's the Mariners who need to change the dynamic of the game. They've got to do it quickly. They've got to get more dynamic. They need penetration. And they need to attack, and they need to do it now. The time will just run out on them.
Jake Brimmer has been summoned again, told to get ready for the second time. Simon and Murray now on as twin spearheads for the Central Coast. Dylan Fox being pressured by Fornaroli. Oh, strong challenge by Fox. And Fornaroli stays down. Ball had gone out of play. There will be a throw. And Perth asked the question of Ben Abraham again. And Tony Popovic has to be careful about how he asks that question. Meantime, he'll make that second change. Joel Chianese, scorer of that excellent second goal, to be replaced by Jake Brimmer. What's your view on the Dylan Fox challenge, Andy?
Robust. Possibly might have had a case for undue force to be used, but the ball was there to be won, and playing my centre-half, not my centre-half, but if I was on his team, I'd want that sort of effort going into denying Fornaroli. All ball.
It's sturdy, isn't it? Very sturdy. Almost a foul throw that by Franich. Kilkenny. Alex Grant enjoying the rare foray forwards. Maybe that'll be his last on the back of that pass. Just all a bit flat for the Central Coast. Jordan Murray gave them a little bit of spark off the bench. Matt Simon just over-eager. I think we can do without the verbal berating of the referee as well. I mean, it's clearly a foul, Andy.
Yeah, and he's trying to liven things up for his team.
There's another one. He's going to be getting himself into disciplinary trouble if he's not careful. I mean, we talk about needing a bit of fire in the belly, which,
sure,
yep, that's what he's there to provide, but you've got to stay the right side of the law, haven't you? At least the football law. And Miller's done a few of those diagonals today. Some of them have been really effective, but not that one.
Well, with the substitutions that the Mariners have made, they've lost in Jair and Sammy Silvera. A fair bit of speed across the ground makes rounding up those balls over the top if they're not hit perfectly accurately. Miller's hit a couple of really accurate ones dead on. A couple of others have sailed away.
Last touch off Meredith. I think the shot count tonight probably tells its own story, Andy. 18 for Perth, 7 for the Mariners. Jordan Murray trying his best to change things. Hyundai feeling the after effects. Again, provides that solid platform along with Neil Kilkenny for Perth. Trapped, had to shift it back to Reddy, pretty smartish. Grant too. Mariners trying to apply the full press. Kim On-sun, no way through for him. Stensness, Miller, De Silva. Well, he did that many step-overs there, De Silva. I think he outfoxed himself, but Grant just came through with a full body smash.
But the catalyst for this, there was the slip up, and Alex Grant just misreading things. But the catalyst for this little burst came from Yun-sun Kim. Really positive play. Win the ball back. He had teammates taking his lead, and they worked the ball to get this free kick. Care of the Alex Grant foul.
Ball's delivery. Reddy's punch. De Silva did stop it going behind, but the whistle's gone because Perth have got a man down with another injury, which the home fans don't like, but as it's a head knock, I think Ben Abraham perhaps feels he has little choice. Yeah, it's Tomislav Merchela who got the back of, I think, Lewis Miller's head. Or was it friendly fire from his own goalkeeper?
No, it's head to head.
possibly the only cloud on tonight for Perth. That injury to Vutric, which will be of concern for Tony Popovic, and potentially now a bit of an issue over Merchler as well. He's already got Dino Djurbic and Osama Malik on the sidelines. That's Branovic, of course, having since left the club. And even though Tony Popovic says he's not averse to going into the transfer window in January, he also said this week Mats Branovic would not be one of the arrivals. Yeah, head-on-head between Miller and Merchler. Certainly played his part, and thankfully, even though he collided with an opposition player there, at least he hasn't collided with a goalpost this year.
Probably feels like he did.
Yeah. Djuric for Orr. Stensness stuck a foot out. Drop here for De Silva. Mariners desperate for a spark from somewhere. Rimmer carrying it forwards, running into traffic. Oh, and Simon goes down, bowled over by Jacob Track. And that's a booking for the substitute. He's only been on the pitch a matter of minutes.
Great work by De Silva to set this one up. A strong tackle, and then immediately with possession looks up, looks to thread the pass. What's Track supposed to do there?
I agree with you.
I can't see a free kick there.
And certainly not a yellow card. I mean, if anything, Simon's fallen over him, hasn't he? Fallen into him, I should say.
Yeah. If Djuric can pull a rabbit out of the hat here, this will certainly be a talking point, because I'm not quite sure where the free kick came from.
Well, this could be the Mariners' best opportunity. The wind behind him. It's within range. It's only a wall of 2 for Liam Reddy. Let's see what transpires. Not really what the Central Coast needed. And we know he can shoot brilliantly from long range. Here's that incident that led to the free kick, which just looks ridiculous, really.
Finish probably a fair outcome.
Yeah, it's been that sort of night, Alan, for the home side anyway. De Silva. Can the Mariners grab at least some late consolation here? It's a foul on Lewis Miller by James Meredith. Another set piece. This is Tommy Orr's side of the field. See if he can do a better job of it than Milan Djuric. Meantime, Perth want to make a change before this free kick can be taken, which goes against the grain of never make a change when you're defending a set piece, free kick or a corner. Bruno Fornaroli hasn't seen the board yet and doesn't really want to come off. And now he's been alerted to it. So Gabriel Popovic, one of 2 sons of Tony, involved in the first team squad, and is in no particular hurry. And he's done his job tonight. Another goal to add to the tally, 6 for the season. Bravo is the cry from Hayden Fox. Orr's free kick came off a Perth head, and the Mariners will take the option of the corner. We're almost into stoppage time. Juric to drive it in with pace this time. Heading clear by Grant. Recycled through De Silva. Not particularly well delivered by all. We're into 5 additional minutes at the end of the 90. Here's Milan Juric. It's Danny De Silva, and that never ever looked likely. All in all, a pretty disappointing night at the office for the Mariners.
And a match bookended by Danny De Silva shots. The first one in the first minute of the game, hitting the post. It was brilliantly exciting. And 90 minutes later, not just De Silva, but the Mariners, a pale imitation of that first attack an hour and a half ago, or thereabouts.
And yet you think of their chances, Andy, there's not been many of them clear-cut. They have come close to scoring on 3 occasions, haven't they? De Silva off the post, Silvera first half stoppage time, and then that Jordan Murray header where really he should have scored. Still time for a consolation. Kim Un-sun still full of energy. Murchler now fully recovered from his head knock. Gets it out of harm's way. Football action restarts, of course, as early as tomorrow, as we welcome in the new year with the Wanderers against Brisbane. As another one goes begging for the Central Coast. And then we're back to regular weekend action on Friday with a derby between Melbourne City and Western United. Tommy Orr way off kilter with that one. It's going to be an interesting clash on Friday.
Wow,
two teams a bit out of form at the moment.
Without Perth winning tonight, it was a battle of second versus third. Perth obviously have changed that dynamic now, but it still has a lot riding on it.
Just a reminder of the As Live ladder. Perth nailed on for third spots as we go into the new year. Mariners will end the old one just a point clear of Brisbane and Newcastle at the foot.
On Friday, 4th place, Western United will be eyeing second spot to start the new year. They have played a couple more games than everyone else. Their bye's yet to kick in.
Made a very good start to life in the A-League. Their last outing against Wellington being the exception. Wellington is where the Mariners head on Saturday. Resurgent Wellington Phoenix. Here they're just looking for any sort of a consolation. Jacob Trapp will see that one out. Rather unjustly cautioned some minutes ago. We've got 90 seconds to run here in Gosford. Juric towards the near post. Kim Un-sun had a lash at it. Still in there for the Mariners, Jake Brimmer. Anywhere will do. How good has Castro been again tonight, Andy?
Well, he's peerless. That's how good. He's decided this game as well. That plenty of times. Stajic, at the start of this half to you, Simon, said he was happy with the way his team dealt with the man on the ball.
Well, they've got to deal with Ivan Franic, who's on the ball at the moment, as Perth look to stretch their lead out even further. And they've got numbers here. Kilkenny couldn't quite return it far enough for Brimmer. Still there, though, for Castro.
Kilkenny's been fantastic tonight as well.
And look who's bursting into the box. It's Diego Castro. There's no foul on Tommy Orr, and he was trying to pick out Gabriel Popovich in the middle. Lewis Miller to thump it upfield. Tony Popovic perhaps a little disappointed they didn't add a fourth goal and make it 10 goals in 2 games for Perth. But make no mistake, they're coming. Last year's premiers. And there we go. 4 wins on the spin for Perth Glory. Disappointment for Alan Stajic. Glory move up to 3rd. And do serve notice they won't give up their premiership crown without a fight. The Mariners slumping to their 6th loss of the campaign. At least they're not bottom going into the new year. And for a club with 3 wooden spoons in 4 seasons, that does represent some progress, at least at the end of 2019. But Perth on the night, just a little bit too good. Diego Castro got the ball rolling in first half stoppage time. And in the second, Joel Chianese, just 3 minutes after the restart, which really knocked the stuffing out of the Mariners. And then Bruno Fornaroli after a horrible slip by Ziggy Gordon. And the Mariners just could not muster enough of a response. They did hit the post through Danny De Silva, but that's as close as they got. Perth in the end, comfortable winners by 3 goals to 0.